Hey guys, thinking we join us again for another exciting episode of YOML Today. We're doing 271, and we actually, been talking for a while, so hopefully we're trying to wrap this one quick, but we'll see. So, Chris, what we got for the book, and what do we think about?
Yeah, let's do this. So we're gonna do a rapid YOML tonight. Probably not, but
Is that even possible?
right. The book for tonight is called Born a Crime: Stories from a South African Childhood by Trevor Noah. Do you know who Trevor Noah is?
Then we have
We have this book. I think I've told you about this book before, just because I really enjoyed it a lot.
his name sounds familiar, so
Trevor Noah is the host of The Daily Show, is what he's most well known for. He's a comedian. So, The Daily Show, like Jon Stewart used to do The Daily Show.
all
When
right,
he retired, Trevor Noah took over The Daily Show from him. So he's been doing that for the past, like, probably 7 or 8 years, I think, or something like
right,
that,
okay.
since Jon Stewart retired. But yeah, no, Trevor Noah he's South African, but he's mixed race South African. So he's half white, half black. This whole book is about Trevor's life growing up. It's called Born a Crime because that's what he was. He was born a crime in South Africa. When he was born as a mixed, they call them coloreds when they're mixed. So they have black people and you have white people and you have coloreds, which are the mixed race people. That's technically illegal. Like white people and black people in South Africa, when he was born, weren't allowed to have a relationship with each other and have a child. Like it was illegal. So he was technically born a crime. That's why it was called Born a Crime. So but it was a really interesting book. So this reflection actually started off with, well, the reflection title was A Balanced Mind Leads to Extraordinary Lives, and I'll explain in a second, obviously. But this is a book that my wife and I did together, and I didn't know what to expect because Trevor Noah is funny and everything, and I occasionally watch The Daily Show. I don't know, I can't remember the last time I saw it. Maybe it's been years ago, but it's not like I haven't ever seen The Daily Show before. Is my point. And I know he's a funny guy. I've seen like comedy, routines of his and stuff like that in the past. Like, but I didn't know much about him other than that at that point in time. His personal life, I didn't know anything about really. I thought this book was going to be about, Trevor Noah, the Daily Show host, and his career, and yada yada yada. Ironically, this book had nothing to do with any of that. It was literally about his life growing up in South Africa as a colored child. I don't even think he even went past like his graduation from high school or something like that. This was all just about him, the stories from his childhood growing up in South Africa during apartheid and after apartheid was lifted, and then just kind of what his life was like growing up and how he was torn between two different worlds. It was a really interesting book because I actually learned a ton about South African history. I had no idea that coloreds, as they were called, mixed race kids, they were shunned by both people. They weren't white and they weren't black. And in South Africa, it was like you're either white or black, and coloreds were like literally like these like redheaded stepchilds of everyone. Like his mom is black and his dad was white, and his dad really wasn't in his life because his mom just wanted to have a colored child as almost like a political protest. She asked this guy to get her pregnant, and they had a relationship, but it wasn't like a serious relationship. He never really had much to do with him other than just random visits and stuff like that. So he lived with his mother in the black neighborhoods, but he was a colored person, so he didn't really fit in there. But then when he would go to school, the white people kind of embraced him a little bit, but they didn't fully embrace him. But then they couldn't really figure out how to be a black person either. So he was stuck between these two worlds in this society that was so racially divided that it was apartheid South Africa, right? And he was this weird colored kid that like he literally couldn't be seen with his mom in public because they would think that she had maybe stolen him or something like that. Like that she had to pretend to be like his nanny and things like, because he would. So he had a really weird childhood growing up where it was just really interesting to learn about South African history, his life, and it was funny too. Obviously, he's a comedian, so a lot of the stories were pretty comical. So we finished this book, actually, my wife and I, and immediately she goes, "Man, that was awesome." She was like, find me more books like that, Chris." And I go, "What do you mean, like finding more books like that?" And she was like, "I don't know what I mean by that, but find more books like that." I was like, "Oh, Jesus Christ." I was like, it's like marriage in a nutshell. You're like, "What do you want me to do? Let me just go dig through my library of amazing books about people growing up in unique situations that are now famous, and they're hilarious, and also at the same time you learn and you grow and whatever." Anyway, marriages are funny, but my biggest reflection from this book, besides the fact that it was hilarious and also very educational and also just an interesting story. He had an interesting childhood growing up. It was another notch in the pattern of other memoirs of successful creative people in this world where it was a similar story. And it's funny that we just got done talking about the stroke of genius and the right brain, left stroke. Sorry, my stroke of insight about right brain, left brain, and all this other stuff going on. Well, I put it in this reflection. I can rattle off from memoirs after memoir of unique childhood stories where, like Shonda Rhimes from A Year of Yes, and Will Smith's memoir of Will, and Kevin Smith's memoir about fat people, or whatever the hell it was called. Just Kids about Patti Smith and Robert Mapplethorpe, and Jane Goodall's memoir, and Between the World and Me with Ta-Nehisi Coates. You can go on and on. All these people. One thing that I can make similarities in common with every one of their stories was they felt like they were not welcome in the normal society that they grew up in for whatever reason. Each one of them had different reasons, but for whatever reason, like, for Trevor Noah, it was clear because he was colored and he didn't fit in the white world or the black world. He was like in this weird, I'm born a crime kind of thing. The one thing that ended up happening to all these people was they turned to their imagination and to themselves and to their creativity, and they used their right brain to keep themselves going forward and entertaining themselves and finding out stuff that they love to do. And this is what I could only think about after reading this book, was like, there's something about, like I said at the top, a balanced mind leads to extraordinary lives. These people are forced as children to tap into the full power of our human brain. And lo and behold, they become these, I don't think it's a secret, like, why they became the people they became personally. I think it's pretty clear. Like, when they were young, they were forced to use their whole brain, similar to the girl with a stroke of insight, right? She was forced to use her right side of her brain. We live in such a left brain dominated world where if you don't fit in, like, you got to do something else, right? Or otherwise you just fall apart, I guess. But these people become, by tapping into more of a balanced approach to their mind, like, they end up shining and standing out amongst everybody else because they're doing something a little bit different, and they're using all of our full human potential, or more of our full human potential. And I don't even know that they realize this, obviously, but I'm seeing this as like a pattern for myself, from this particular kind of story. And it makes me think, like, if the world was the exact opposite, if everything was the right-brained world where people were just all imaginative and creative all the time, and it was like, if we flipped it all around and we said, hey, this is going to be a really right-brain dominated society, and everything is super imaginative, creativity, and we're very abstract, and we don't really put words around stuff, and we're thinking about the connected nature of the world, I guarantee you the people that are the weird people in this world will maybe shift a little focus, and then they start to use their left brain a little bit more, and then they start to develop these habits and thinking about time and thinking about whatever else, and then everybody else in the right brain world starts to see them, and they're like, whoa, like, what is that person? They're tapping into all this other potential. They're like shining above everybody else because they have a little bit more structure and a little bit more habits and a little bit more rigidity and a little bit more categorization of things, and they're seeing more patterns than these abstract people are over here all seeing. Like, this is what I'm seeing as a collective of a lot of these different stories. So it's just another further notch in the belt for me personally after reading this book. People that ultimately live extraordinary lives are the ones that break free of whatever the societal norm is and try to tap into a more balanced existence with using their full capability ranges and a little bit more of a balanced existence. And then all of a sudden, that's where you end up with, where you get books like stories about Trevor Noah, and you get stories like Shonda Rhimes and Will Smith, and whatever else, right? Like, all these other amazing memoirs of people that have lived lives like this. So yeah, I'd love to get your thoughts.
Well, to me, isn't that obvious though?
It's not obvious. I mean, it is obvious to us now, maybe, but this is not an obvious
because
thing.
isn't two is better than one?
I mean, why not both? That was yesterday's reflection.
Two is always better than one because you have access to both sides of your brain. To me, even if you use 100% of whatever you have on one side of your brain, you're still limited to what that side can do. But if you basically say, hey, my square footage is only so much, but then if I increase the room on the other side, I have more freedom to go back and forth and to do whatever I want. So to me, it's obvious.
I know it is now, but like, it's not. I mean, most people go, I'm going to be better left brain than everybody else. Like, I think most people are like, how can I be more goal oriented? How can I be more time, productive? Like, that's how most people think success and extraordinary lives.
So I don't think that. I think the problem is that people don't think.
I agree.
They don't think. They would say two is better than one, become obvious. The problem I see is that people just take in the conditioning and the training that they were being given since childbirth, right? Everything is about conditioning. You're supposed to be in class at this time. You're supposed to go to lunch at this time. You were supposed to raise your hand when you need to speak. You want to go to the bathroom. You have to ask for permission. You have to say yes, sir, yes, ma'am. I mean, you are being conditioned to follow this. You're not being asked, oh, what did you think? Did people ask you, hey, what do you think? They ask you, what's
No.
2 plus 2? They ask you, what do you think 2 plus 2 is? I say, no, what's 2 plus 2?
Yeah.
And they expect the answer. And the thing is, in my kids' homework, right? The teacher marks the answer as wrong because it did not match the answer in the book, even though logically, as an adult, you can see that the child got it right.
Right.
You literally say, 2 plus 2 is 4, right? No, the book says 5, therefore this answer is wrong. And it got marked off for it. And to me, that is the stupidest thing I've seen. But that's the point, is people don't think. And if you let people think, I think it's obvious.
You make an amazing point. I think you're 100% right. And I think the most important thing is, from what you're saying, if we're going to take that and extrapolate on top of that, it would be most people only are forced to think when they're forced to think, meaning they're not accepted by the norm, whatever the norm is.
The conditioning doesn't, because if you think, the thing is, it's not that you, the thing is, I believe that people, when they are born, they are naturally able to think. It is just
100%.
that we are conditioned so much not to think that we stop thinking. Because every time you think, you get smacked across the face for it. Because your childhood, right? You doing something, they say, hey, Chris,
I'm doing this
don't do that
every day.
It's like, don't do that. They snap you, or they call your parents and say, hey, Chris is being a bad boy today.
Yeah.
Right? And so you're being conditioned not to think. And so over so many years of being trained to not to think, so people stop thinking. So right now, like even a professional adult, they don't think. They only take whatever the news say. Hey, the news say, this particular policy is good. You go ahead and vote for it, and you just do exactly what people tell you to do. You say, hey, this is the answer. So people are trained to look for answers. They don't train to think for themselves and look for answer within. They're trained to look for answers elsewhere from an external authority.
You're killing through like every fucking day. Like, this is why I like talking to you, because like this is what I was just writing about this morning. Like, literally, this is the reflection from this morning. It was about Hampton J. Pig with how to change your mind, the Michael Pollan book that I was telling you about. So I was writing my first reflection of 2 on that. So Hampton J. Pig. Do you remember the show Tiny Toons? Did you ever see that? It was
right,
like Animaniacs and Tiny Toons and whatever.
Yes.
So Hampton was the little like Porky Pig, like tiny, he wasn't Porky Pig, but he was like the tiny equivalent of like Porky Pig on Tiny Toons. And fucking Hampton, there was this episode I'll never forget, like ever. This goes in line with what you're saying. We were actually born right-brained only. Like, I mean, honestly, like we are fucking acid tripping. We're tripping hippies all day long as like 2-year-olds. They're on a fucking acid trip 24/7, basically. They're floating around and doing whatever the fuck they want to do, and they have no structure, rigidity, time. They don't have any constraints, like, at all. Like, so we like beat that into their heads all day long until we hit this balance tipping point where, I don't know, what do you say, like they're 6, 7, something like that.
Even then, because right now in the hospital they say, hey, you have to feed your kid at a certain time.
They need that structure. They do need structure. Like, they need to be taught.
No,
they're unbalanced.
No, to me, I don't believe. I believe that the kids already have the sensors that tells you when they are asleep, they go to sleep. When they need to wake up, they wake up. I mean, if the diapers is wet, they're gonna wake up. If the tummy is not happy, it's gonna wake up. So
this is an interesting conversation in general of, this is what I was writing about today. It was like, I actually think that we're born fully almost right brain fluid. And if we're talking about getting to a balanced state is the key. This is where like habits and structure and rigidity and teaching, But
I believe that you form your own habits based on your characteristics of the person.
I think
because the thing is, think about, let's go to the nature and look at the nature, right? All those guys have been trained for whatever we've been trained for. You're talking about the cub, that lion cub that goes and hunts something, or whatever animal you could pick.
It's not humans like that.
You are part of animals, so instinctively You have that, but you have a second brain that's on top of your brain that maybe you can process the behaviors and stuff. But the thing is, right now, we are not even allowed for that rider to even does its own thing. You are basically training the rider to be this robot.
They're training the elephant to be a robot.
You train your rider to be a
Oh
robot.
no, you're right.
To
Yeah,
train
yeah,
the elephant.
yeah,
So
right,
not okay. The rider has the cognitive freedom.
Yeah, you're right. You're
to
right.
choose, but even now we don't want to have that because
Right.
we don't even think.
No, I agree.
We are
so maybe you're
looking
90-10 when you're born, right brain, left brain. Maybe you're 90-10 right brain, 10% left brain that's built in for like survival instincts or something like that.
Yes, they have 10%, which is they cry when they need something.
Right.
Right. I'm saying is there's 10%. It's not like what you're saying, but technically there is a survival instinct in babies.
Sure, but it's a lot less than the right brain domination.
But technically, even less is still an instinct.
I agree. I think if we start like 90-10, if this is 100% over here and then 90% is right here on the left brain spectrum, I think as slowly over time, as they get older and older, maybe 5, 6, 7,
60,
whatever.
50, yeah. That's where naturally you would gravitate towards.
Exactly. Eventually, at a certain point in time, I think we can both agree. I don't know when that inflection happens, but like we humans now get to the point in time where they're like 95-5 on the other side of the equation of left brain versus right brain, right? So my point of what I was going at with all this is with Hampton J. Pig, by the way, is my funny little story about Tiny Toons. So there was this episode where this like soul sucking monster was going around and sucking all the souls out of all the Tiny Toons, and Hampton, his soul is like, I mean, his personality in general is he's like super conservative, he's super diligent and punctual, and he loves, I think I wrote it in here, I pulled this from some website, he's a good-natured, mild-mannered, gullible, and naively optimistic pig who has a huge appetite. He's shown as a straight man to his friends who are usually wacky and zany, especially Plucky Duck. He's also a neat freak that has an obsession with cleanliness, right? So this is Hampton J. Pig's personality. So this thing is going around sucking all the souls out of all the wacky and zany Tiny Toons, and so Plucky Duck's going nuts and he's doing crazy shit and he's bouncing all around, and then this monster comes and he sucks the soul out of Plucky Duck, and he's like now just like a blob that's just like, oh no, I don't know, like, and now he's just lame and whatever. Well, right. This soul sucking monster comes to Hampton, and Hampton's in his room and he's cleaning his bedroom, and he goes, I'm gonna clean my room, and then the soul sucking thing sucks the soul out of him, and he goes, whew, I'm gonna clean my room. I can never forget this whole entire thing. But like Hampton is all of us. Like we have no, we're just fucking rigid, like habitual, like left brain people all day, every day. And like it takes like an atomic bomb or something like that, or something like Trevor Noah's circumstances where he's shunned by the rest of society, or Shonda Rhimes was the same thing, right? She used to spend all day long writing in a cupboard, by herself, because she felt like she didn't have any friends and she didn't have whatever. So she used her imagination and wrote stories and all this other things. And that's how she ended up doing what she's doing today. But like my point of what I'm getting at is like, it's always some weird thing that like pulls people out of this Hampton J. Pig world, right? Of like, we're just dull, idiot, habitual dipshits, and like they get sucked back into the actual world where they're like, oh, I can do this stuff, and then they become extraordinary people to these Hampton J. Pigs over here, because they're like, oh my god, you can do that? Like, I don't have to just be excited to clean my room every day. That was my example I was trying to give with this. But Trevor Noah is the same. He was ostracized. He was born a crime. He had a weird life, and he had to find a way to figure out how to do other things that other people couldn't do, and that was tapping into his right brain.
It's because the key to the story is that when you are not hitting the marks that society sets for you, it feels like you're not okay. So when you're not okay, you are forced to look elsewhere. And this is why, because if society, hey, you have to be this certain person and a certain characteristic, a certain, whatever quotas or mantras or whatever that society expects you to be, and you are not hitting that mark, that's gonna create distress for you. And that stress is, to me, equates to internal pain, internal conflict. And that creates anxiety and drives you away from it and say, hey, if I can't meet it, that means I'm not comfortable in that state. Therefore, you have to find another state. Similarly to people who have an atomic bomb, it gets to the point where I can't stay in this state anymore. I have to find something else, anything but this. But if you get to a state where you adhere to society to the point where you are being encouraged, this is when you become more robotic. Just because I told you when I was younger, I was really the right brain child. I don't have any sense of time or anything like that. I just do whatever I want. I told you I can't even read until I was 7. I'm the dumbest kid. I can't speak to you. I can't describe to you certain things because everything's in my head and it can't connect. Because I just don't remember. You asked me to describe a tree. I can't describe it. It can't give you a very cohesive.
Words is left brain. Like that's a left brain.
Exactly. I can't describe you a tree.
Right.
Right. You ask me, describe a tree. Well, obviously, a tree has leaves, has trunk, has roots or whatever. I can't even give you one. Right. What does a tree have? I don't know. Sense. So I have no fucking clue how to describe to you what a tree is.
Right.
Right. And to me, you the teacher looks at you and say, "Hey, what the hell is this wrong with this kid?" Because to me, there's no logic, no reasoning. And so that to me was but the problem is when I was younger, my parents are always busy because we were really poor after the war. I mean, they encouraged me to be better. It's not like I'm being forced to be better or being whipped into it. So I did not have to find a different outlet. You know what I mean? As far as the state is concerned, I meet the marks. To say, hey, I did some of these things. I mean, I was so creative when I was younger. Right. So creative. I mean, I go out there and I will do certain things that no one can do. Whether that, hey, in the garden, I would do certain things. I would find ways to do things, right? I would find ways to get in trouble. That's the part I put more. Yeah. When I came to the United States when I was 10 years old, from 6th grade into 12th grade, I was completely robotic. Think about that, right?
You went to the opposite. You really wanted to fit in that way, and you could in America. You maybe necessarily couldn't.
And the reason, what I'm saying is the reason for that is because I was no longer appreciated as being this creative person. Right. So when I came to America, right, I was getting to, because in America it's very, very structured. Because even in Vietnam, it's not as structured as in America. In Vietnam, when I was in trouble, what I do is I basically become a troublemaker in class. I would basically create chaos in class, right? And my teacher would use the ruler stick and would whack me on my hands, and usually get to the point where nothing will hurt no more. They basically break the sticks before I wake up my hand. So that's what I did. And after school, I would go behind the church and go fight, then go home. I go to school without shoes, blah, blah, right? And so I did all that, but my parents, they're busy working. So the letters and the teachers don't really call the parents. He's going to hit you on the hands or make you kneel on some kind of, jackfruit peel that, has the little spikes on it. So they actually so they do those in school, but because you are a troublemaker, you don't really care no more. So it's not like your parents is forcing you. But then when I came to America, it's very structured. I have the same habit, the same trait. I create trouble in class. I don't follow the rules. Say, hey, get in line, you go blah, blah, whatever. I don't follow the rule. Yeah. And that wasn't going to happen in America because they call parents in and they won't let me go home until my parent comes in. And because my parents had to work, that was the last straw. So, hey, you can't do that anymore. So basically,
that's funny. Yeah.
I basically get to the point where I was,
you're
told that,
in the left brain world. You said this is the right way you got to go.
Push, and then from that on, it's all left brain. And I told you, perfect attendance.
Yeah,
perfect attendance.
That's amazing.
And like I told you, it's only because I was smacked and say, no, you cannot do that. And so that's what I'm saying is that's the key. Is when you have no other choice, you have to find other outlets. Because if I wasn't in the United States and the United States didn't have the rigid rules, then it wouldn't happen. Because if someone that sent me home, then that wouldn't be an issue. But because they kept me until 9 o'clock, 9:30 p.m. at school until my parents come pick me up. And my parents have to work 2 jobs because, so my parents had to get out of work, get a call from.
I'm sure they're fucking pissed.
They're fucking pissed, but also the thing is, it's not like So the school won't, they'll expel you. They say, hey, you can't do this anymore. So
Right.
you wanna belong here, right? You have to follow the rules. And that was the moment that I had to be forced into the left brain world, where I continue to say, well, in order for me to continue to exist, because the thing is, my fear was that because my parent has uprooted us from Vietnam into America, we're in a place where I can't speak the language. I don't understand anyone. They don't understand anyone, and
Yeah.
we are struggling. And my parents are struggling to make ends meet. And the thing is, in order for me to stay in America, I have to be in school. If I don't have to be in school, I have to be elsewhere, and that causes issues for my parents, and that my parents
Yeah.
may have to be sent back or wherever. It can't stay here if I make trouble. So
Yeah.
that's the reason why I was forced in my own head to say, well, I have to change. And to that moment on, I
That makes
became an
sense.
A student. I became an A student up until college, right? I mean, basically, in college, I only graduated college in 3 years because
Right.
what else am I gonna do? And so that's the thing is because it's completely opposite in Vietnam. Like, I was the dumbest kid. I can't even describe to you. I mean, even in fifth grade, I don't know anything.
I mean, that makes a
Oh,
lot of sense, honestly. It's, you said if I'm gonna make it in this society, like I got to be better than everybody else at being what they do, and like I'm gonna do that for my parents, for myself, for whatever, for whatever reason. But that makes a lot of sense as to like like going to school every single day and never missing a day from 6th through 12th grade is like an incredible feat. Like I only know of one other person, and she was like, when I went to school, she was like the weirdest person ever, in terms of like, we were all like, how are you doing that? Like, it was almost like a game to her at that point in time of like, I don't care. I'm never missing a day. Like, it's not happening, And she was also our valedictorian of our class. Like, she was like, I'm going to be the best left brain person you will ever meet, kind of thing, like, and I'm going to fucking dominate everybody else in academia and all this other stuff. And I'm going to be the class valedictorian. I'm going to never miss school. Like, I mean, that's what you got to do. Like, it's Michael Phelps, right? It's like, I got to be in the pool for 10 hours a day, every single day, or whatever it is, or something like crazy like that, where you're like, you don't need to do that, Michael. Like, but he's like, but I do, for whatever reason. Like, he feels compelled to compete in the left brain world. Like, I got to be better than everybody else, and I got to go even deeper into the left brain side of everything. That makes a lot of sense to me, as to how people could get there, because you had an atomic bomb event that sent you the other direction.
so and then in college,
and
I missed half of my class.
there you go.
So in college, I missed half my class because I yearn for the feeling. That's why for me, as far as my personal is concerned, I don't like rules. That's why I don't like authority. I basically go against any authority figures.
Does anybody?
I think there's some, but for
I don't.
me,
I don't. I mean,
because
I
the
don't
thing
know.
is, I don't know.
Accommodated, but like,
I don't
I
know
don't know
about
that
your
anybody likes it.
family, but in my family, I have seven brothers and sisters altogether. So I am probably like all our brothers and sisters. We have completely different personality. I'm the one who are like the extremities of like against society, against rule, against regime, against everything, and have other extreme brothers that do exactly like to the dot. Like, even in the same family, we
But do
have
they
this.
like it? But do they
I
like it?
think they do. I
You think?
mean,
I mean,
we have a spectrum from the worst troublemaker to the best kid in the house, right? So
right.
I'm probably in the end, and then my older brother is like next to it, and then next to it is another brother, and then my sisters, and then my second brother is on the other end. And so there is a
Right.
spectrum of. I mean, for me, it's like if anybody gets smart with me, I'll get into it with them. I mean, the thing is, you cannot peer pressure me, and you cannot bully me because regardless, if
Are
I
you the
lose,
youngest of seven?
no, I'm the middle.
Middle. Okay. Like
I'm the
how?
middle.
Which, like, 4 or 5 or
I'm the third.
third? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Huh. That is kind of fascinating. I mean, I think you could probably try to. Well, I mean, in a lot of ways, you could have been, Trevor Noah, and when you came to America, you could write a story about, like, if you kept going down the road that you were going down, like, as a successful, graduated school for 3 years, like, never missed a day, ran multiple businesses, like, you could have ended up being, in a weird way, the opposite direction of this, like, but it wasn't a balanced existence. I think the point of my reflection that I was trying to get across is, I think Trevor, he didn't go full on to the, like, I'm just going to live in, like, loopy world, you know, like psychotic breakdown kind of world. He just moved far enough past this world that he couldn't exist in to a little bit more of a balanced state where he was accessing a little bit more of his full
But because
potential.
he has a special condition, meaning he can't go full on to the other side because the other side won't accept him either.
Exactly.
Right. So he has to be in the middle. Right. He can't go one side nor the other side. He has to be in the middle. So that's why he's being forced to be balanced. Because if you know, like if you know the one side accepts him, well, he's going to be extremely on the other side. Hey, you know, this guy hates me. I'm going to be the most loyal person on the other side. You think about it, but the other person is, hey, I don't want you either. So, well, I'm neither loyal to this side or that side. So I'm in the middle. So we'll do whatever in the middle. So the thing is, circumstances forces you. But the point is, the key is to say, you have to explore and be able to understand the other side. And have both to even have the spectrum of view that you can see.
Exactly.
Because without just one of them, you're basically blinded by what can be options for you on the other side.
Exactly. And when you're blinded, you're not going to live an extraordinary life.
It's about whether or not you
actually
comfortable. You're comfortable with the feeling that life gives you. Because that's what I'm saying is today, I'm not as like quote unquote to society a successful person, but I feel like what I do every day. You ask me what happened today? Nothing. But I love my life. My life, to me, life is good.
Right? That was about what I was about ready to say. Was like an extraordinary life doesn't have to be somebody that's famous or whatever. It could you live an extraordinary life. I live an extraordinary life. Like I love my life, and I don't, in my opinion, of me walking around every single day, even with whatever's happened in my life or whatever's happened in your life, like I get to wake up every single day and I go, I love my life. That's extraordinary to me. Like, I don't care if other people know that or not, but the only reason you can get to that point in time is if you are accessing as much as you can. You're never going to see it all, but you're trying your best.
You're not limited, but my point is your boundaries of where you can go is not limited, because like if you're not trying to cover all of the real estate or wherever you can go, but say, hey, I'm able to go to that corner to the left or that corner to the right or whatever. You have that ability, and you maybe stay somewhere in the middle of this real estate that you have. But if you have only one side, we say you limited your only one side, regardless how much you cover that real estate, you are still missing a bunch of things on the other side. And so for you, as far as your life is concerned, it is very constrained. It isn't as free and as open as you would be able to. Just the point of the kind of analogy.
That's the worst.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. It's obvious to have the two.
It's obvious now to us. I don't think this is an obvious thing. Like, I mean, I think that it's obvious to you and I now, but like, I don't think that this is an obvious thing to the majority of this world. I don't even know that they know that the right brain even exists. Like, they think, oh, well, artsy people do artsy stuff. Like you hear this all the time. Like, I'm not a creative. I hear that all the time from people.
Right,
I'm not a creative.
They were told. They were told, because the thing is, hey,
I'm not an artist.
If your mom tells you, hey, Chris, you can't sell, you can't talk, then you stop talking. You're not. You won't be as expressive as you would today, just because somebody told you that you're not this, you're not that.
And they think that being a creative means only drawing or painting or singing or acting or something like that.
Tells you the Lebanese aren't creative, so they don't have labels for creativities. So they come up with the best word to describe creativity. Hey, you draw, that's creatively. You're making films, that's creatively. You're making music, that's creative. That's it. That's how I can think of.
That's creative.
Right.
Like you could be a creator.
The person who labels you are the left brain. They're not the right brain.
Exactly. You can use your imagination in everything that you're doing. You can use your imagination as you're just walking down the sidewalk and looking at the castle around you. You can explore and learn. Like, that doesn't mean that you have to be this prolific artist, quote unquote, as we know it today, or something like that. That's not all the art entails. That is not what right brain thinking is. That is an expression of it. Even those people have probably more of a balanced mindset than almost everybody else, like, because they still have to have habits to be able to bring their art out into the world. Like, they still have to have tethered to reality to understand how to navigate this world, right?
That's what I'm saying, is balancing and being you or being optimal. Because you think about it, I was very creative when I was younger, but I can't describe it to you. I cannot communicate with you. So the thing is, as far as human beings concerned, we are lacking the part of sharing because
They have both.
because the thing is, I can do these creative stuff, but I can't come back to you and ascribe it to a friend. I can't ascribe it to you because my complete logic has no sequence. Everything is distracted. Even if I look at a tree and you ask me, hey, True, describe to me a tree, I can't fucking describe to you what a tree looks like when I'm looking at it because my train of thought isn't in a sequence. It's a completely different, right? So
Meaning you were unbalanced. Like, I mean,
exactly.
you needed to be able to.
My point is you need to have balance.
Right.
The human beings that you feel like it's good for your
Be an
the life
extraordinary
is
human
good.
being. You know.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean,
Because you can't have just one side only. Because the thing is, doing things by myself is great, but doing things with others is even better.
Agreed. I mean, 100%. It's one of our core values. Don't do it alone. You know. So it's. I mean, it's. I don't know. It's just every time I hear more and more stories like this, and it was really funny that I finished this book right after Stroke of Insight, my Stroke of Insight, because it like obviously we've talked about this before too. Like what you're learning is a leading indicator on what on you know like
core value.
we've been talking this past like week and a half about right brain, left brain, and then I'm reading a book about psychedelics about whatever. Like I've been primed to write about J Pig this morning for a while, and I was excited.
I'm gonna clean my room.
Yeah, I'm gonna clean my room. Like and man, I wish I could find that clip. I was searching for like 10 minutes this morning after I got done writing that reflection. I was like, that's got to exist on the internet somewhere, and I couldn't find it. I promise you. I googled everything you could possibly Google. I'll try it again really fast. It was Hampton JPEG. Oh, I already see it. Some of the things that I had on here. I don't know what the hell
that's not
is.
Hampton JPEG.
Yeah, I know.
That doesn't look like Hampton JPEG.
This is Hampton, by the way.
Yeah.
I literally searched for many videos and I could not find.
It's because it's buried under the Google search engines.
Wait, is this it? Nope, that is not it. Anyway, I couldn't find it. All right. Well, all right. I think we've officially hit the, we went from, well, we'll do this in 15 minutes to it's now 45. So, all right, let's.
I tell you that was hard.
I know it was. I knew it wasn't going to happen. This is the problem with all this. Like, I still have energy, and I'm still could keep going. This is eating the cake, right? You're like, God damn it, I
want some more cake. Yeah, but
I gotta go to bed. It's stupid. Like it's stupid. It's so annoying, where we can't stop. So, but it's also good at the same time, right? Yeah. Like, sometimes you got to put the cake down and go to bed. And
this is one of the things where it contributes to the life is good.
Exactly. Conversation is always a question we can leave for everybody is what's stopping you from regularly tapping into your creative and imaginative side of your existence. So,
or the other side as well. I was once on too much creativity. I can't talk to you straight.
That's kind of what I said in this reflection too, of like, if the world was right brain dominated, where we were all like 95.5 right brained all the time kind of thing, like the one genius out there that was like, hey guys, habits are important. And
but you think about it, like this is why
describe a habit, language.
You remember the experiments from the child and the monkeys experiment with depending who's more creative, right?
Yeah.
Because the thing is, without the left brains, human would not have been successful as we have been because we wouldn't be able to share the ideas to each other. We want to, we try to, but we couldn't because we are too disconnected. We're too distracted by things. It's like, I can't ascribe to you the ideas that I want to have. I can't tell you how to fix certain things just because I figured out, but I can't articulate it to you, right? Because for me, it's my vocabulary is really non-existent.
Right.
So I see, hey, there is something, brown on the tree. What you call it? I can't tell you what that thing is. It's a fucking trunk, right? I can't tell you the cover. I know what it is, but I can't tell you what it is. Like the thing, right, up and down, and then the thing that wraps it, right? I can't even tell you it's brown.
Right.
That's the problem.
No, I mean that is a massive problem.
You should have seen. You should have seen the whatever what they call it in literature, in English literature in Vietnam. They try to write a story, right, about a tree or whatever, right? You should have seen what I wrote. It's like, hey, is it chicken? Chicken wrote this?
We're wondering what the hell is going on. I mean, it's funny you say that because
Because
you
my
are.
brother was like mocked. Like I mean, that's what I told you. This guy is like that. What's wrong with
But
you? Meaning
defines the left
he's a
brain society
child prodigy. My
as
brother is a my
as
brother is a
defined
child prodigy based
as
on
defined
society.
in a left brain dominated society. Like,
Yes.
I mean, like you could have been a child prodigy too, as well. Like, and they could have been like, this guy's kind of all crazy weird over here, but like, someday he's gonna invent something, miraculous because
But that's the
he was.
thing is, my brother is a child prodigy because he was young for his age when he go to school, and he's really good at school. But I'm the one who graduate first among everybody. I'm the one who started companies. I'm the one who has all these things. I'm also involved
It's
in the investment for my brothers and sister, right? We joined
right.
together, and I'm the one who actually leading that. So I mean,
It's not surprising at all. Remember when I told you about the WeWork co-founder Miguel and the co-founder of the hair dry bar, Allie, that lived on that Oregon commune together, out, out in hippie world, and it was only like 5 families with 5 moms raising kids. Like, this is my point. Trevor Noah's story is not a surprise to me at all. Will Smith's story is not a surprise to me at all anymore. Shonda Rhimes is not a surprise. It's like, I mean, all of these people, like every day, like these are not surprising stories to me at all anymore, because it is clear, like to me, very crystal clear what you're saying. Like, you would have been the one that I would have picked if I would have been like, if that guy could just get his shit together a little bit and pull it just a little bit more toward the center and be more balanced, like the perspective that he's going to carry with this plus having a little bit more of a balance, be able to communicate it in some way, shape, or form, like it's going to result in a
yeah, the
way
thing
bigger.
is, my brother is a very smart person, but he doesn't go out of boundaries. I do.
Exactly.
So
You can't ever do extraordinary things, even just living a life that you want to live, unless you're willing to go out of the boundaries that society gives you.
those boundaries are arbitrary.
It-
And real boundaries just make up some shit and hey, you should follow this rule. It's like, hey, you cannot carry a duck on your head across the street,
I mean,
right?
that's the Mapache life, man. Like, I mean, that's why I love being a raccoon. That's why I love Loki. It's like, I don't fucking care. Who cares? Like, I mean, what is my boss gonna do? Fire me? Fine, I don't care. Like, I'll just go somewhere else and tell them exactly what I did. And they're gonna go, "That's pretty awesome." Like, how'd you learn all this stuff? Well, I just did what I wanted to do, and that's where I got to, and I'll continue to go do that. Like, and that's what I'm gonna always do, because I want to do that, because I get to express my values. I get to, experience my daughter, have good energy, have these conversations with you every night. Yada yada yada. Thanks for joining, everyone, and we will see you Monday.
Monday. Sounds good. Good night.